He was born in Colonia du Blanc, about 15 miles from here.
Okay.
Their family left and they stayed in the United States. They didn't come back.
Right.
You know, I remember his father ran for President of the United States in '68, or at least he was a candidate. His citizenship was questioned.
Right.
Because he was born here in Mexico, but he was born of American parents.
Yeah. And do you think that this craziness around the run-up to the election, is that bringing too much attention? Or?
I think one of the reasons it's brought a lot of attention to here is because of Mitt's position on illegal immigration.
Right.
Now, what's ironic about this is that Mitt Romney, whose father was born in Mexico and would be considered the poster child of the DREAM Act, actually has one of the staunchest views on immigration in his already conservative Republican Party.
And I've indicated I would veto the DREAM Act if provisions included that people who are here illegally, if they go to school here long enough, get a degree here, that they can become permanent residents. I think that's a mistake.
Now, it seems a bit weird for a person who's essentially a first-generation immigrant to have such harsh views on immigration. It's kind of like, methinks thou dost protest too much kind of deal. And his own cousin Kelly, who although he supports Mitt for president, thinks that his position on immigration is wrong.
I think he needs to change.
Right.
Being born and raised in Mexico, and especially since NAFTA, I think that the United States is partly responsible for the increase in illegal immigration have.
Right. So America makes policy, then all of a sudden northern Mexico gets all screwed up.
That's right. Give amnesty to those that are out there that are working legitimately and have a job. Come up with a guest worker program,
Sure.
and let these people go out there and work and then come home and take care of their family. Because basically they're starving to death here in Mexico.
In fact, it's so bad that for many people, there's only really two options. One, sneak into America, or two, work for the cartels.
You know, didn't some farmers go up from the farms and go into the mountains and start growing drugs?
But yeah, a lot of them have gone into the mountain areas and they grow drugs where.
And now we're sitting here going, okay, well, what are we going to do?
What are we going to do? Exactly. You know, I wish Mitt would make contact with us, and
Yeah.
I really think that we could help him.
And as I would later realize, contacting the Mexican side of his family would probably be the last thing that Mitt Romney would do.
I think marijuana should not be legal in this country. I believe it's a gateway drug to other drug violations. The use of illegal drugs in this country is leading to terrible consequences.
Now, we all know Mitt Romney's stance on drugs, but it was interesting to hear Kelly's thoughts on the drug war, considering it affects him every day.
To me, this used to be the most peaceful place in the world.
Right.
Yeah, man, I used to let my kids go to Nuevo Casas Grandes, go to the shows, go to dances, go to parties.
Yeah.
But now you keep close watch. And it all has to do with the drug violence that has started, you know. When they started the war on drugs, the violence just escalated. Most of the problems that we have around here are drug-related, you know, and there's been some kidnappings and some killings from drug-related things, you know.
Right. Have there ever been any Romneys kidnapped?
Yeah, my brother was kidnapped 3 years ago in May. I think they kept him for 2 days, took him to a cave up in the mountains. They paid a small ransom, it wasn't a lot, and they were mainly punks, they weren't really professionals.
Right. And most of the weapons that are here in Mexico are illegal weapons, and
Yes.
most of those illegal weapons are coming from the States.
Yes. Fast and Furious, I'm sure you've heard about that.
Now, the Fast and the Furious scandal he's talking about refers to a case where the American government gave thousands of guns to the cartels in order to track them. Then, they proceeded to lose track of them until they surfaced again in the murder cases of American agents.
What, they think they were going to be able to keep control of them or keep track of them? Nonsense.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know what in the world they were thinking and sending all those weapons to Mexico.
And the Fast and the Furious scandal is just one of many that have seriously embarrassed the American government. Now, perhaps Mitt's hardline stance on issues like guns, immigration, and drugs becomes more clear. Because even though his father was born in Chihuahua, Mitt surely must want to distance himself from the region. Because the region is totally fucked up. And it's not the first time that this has been the Romney strategy either. When his father ran for president, both his citizenship and his Mormon colony's polygamist roots were called into question. And his run for the White House didn't last too long. But Mitt Romney has to deal with his family's polygamist past, kidnapping, drug wars, and, in the extreme case of Ervil LeBaron, crazy Mormon blood atonement. Now, having close familial ties to all of this shit does not a good presidential candidate make?
You know, what do you think, being on the front lines of this, what do you think are some of the solutions to these problems?
Looking at it from a perspective of someone living here, we say, well, why don't they legalize it in the United States and cut out all the violence in Mexico?
Sure.
As long as you have the swimming pool over there, this is going to be the diving board.
So as we began our long drive back to the border, I had lots of time to think about what we'd seen in Chihuahua. I thought about the LeBarons and their war against the narcos, the kidnapping, the murders, and the lengths they have to go to protect themselves every day. I also thought about what Kelly Romney had said about the US being the swimming pool and Mexico being the diving board, and how similar all of this is to America's history with outlawing alcohol.
So we're just approaching the border here, back into America. Feels like about a year has passed since we were here last. As we were driving here from Chihuahua, I was thinking, you know, how prohibition in America led to the rise of the mob, the Al Capones, the Lucky Lucianos. Our war on drugs, our prohibition against drugs, has caused the same thing. You see it down here. It's the sort of blunt edge of the hammer. It's the rule of the thug. You know, you have $200 assassins, and as long as there's prohibition, it's going to continue. The war on drugs is a failure. There's never been more drugs in America, and they've never been cheaper, or better, or higher quality.
And as we sat for hours at the border waiting to get back into America, I thought about the fact that Mitt Romney might just be the next president of the United States.
God bless America. Thanks, you guys.
Now, polygamy and kidnapping notwithstanding, if he wins, he's going to have some hard decisions to make about decriminalizing drugs and fixing our immigration problem. Because if he doesn't, Mexico, his Mormon brethren, and perhaps even his own flesh and blood are going to pay the price.
Nearly every industry in the world has a trade show. You have car shows, electronic shows, even comics have their own trade shows. But here in Jordan for the last 14 years, in huge tents in the middle of the desert, they have a massive trade show for war. It's called the Special Operations Forces Exhibition, or SOFEX for short, and it's hosted by Jordan's King Abdullah II, one of America's only allies in the Middle East. I wanted to know exactly what was for sale and just who was selling it at the world's largest special forces supermarket. But I'm a magazine guy, not a gun guy, so I brought along an ex-Marine and an Iraq war vet, Matt Ruskin, to help me sort through all this stuff.
It's interesting because when you walk through security and you come to this, it's sort of like a trade show out in the middle of the desert. And the first thing you see are like any other trade show, advertising. But here it's like F-16 with sniper targeting pod, the Hellfire missile, the Javelin missile. It's crazy. It's the first thing you see.
And all this advertising is aimed at what audience? Generals.
So we're here at the beginning at SOFEX. They're going to have the keynote speeches. As you can see, there's pretty much every general in the world here. It's crazy.
It's my great pleasure to welcome all of you to Jordan and to SOFEX. With the 349 exhibitors and more than 300 delegates from around 85 countries. Special operation capabilities are vital to the battle against global terrorism. With your leadership, insights, and efforts, victory will be ours.
The arms industry is estimated anywhere between $350 billion to $500 billion a year.
one of the largest industries in the world, and these are all the guys, the military advisors, the generals who come here to buy weapon systems. Where are you guys from?
Jordan.
Jordan? The hometown boys.
Yes.
Where are you guys from?
Togo.
Togo?
Yeah.
Nice to meet you. Tanzania, very good guys. Lebanon. Marhaba. Marhabten. When I was a kid, they used to talk about the military-industrial complex. Well, this is it, right here. The business of war. All the generals coming with billions upon billions of dollars of taxpayer money to buy weapons to fuck shit up.
Ladies and gentlemen, His Majesty King Abdullah II bin Hussein, the Supreme Commander of the Jordanian Armed Forces, and His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Yemen.
Here we go, it's all gonna kick off now. King Abdullah's arriving. So here comes some of the special ops forces.
Jordan has a profound, almost pathological fixation with special ops. Why? Well, one, because it borders with Syria, Israel, Saudi Arabia, and Iraq. And two, because special ops is code for taking down terrorists, insurgents, or anyone else that the government deems to be undesirable. And since 9/11, if you join the fight against global terrorism, it also means that Uncle Sam will cut you a nice big check for weapons, especially if they're American made.
So we just saw the show of force. They took over the building. They dropped some people in. There was a hostage crisis. They did it all. They killed everybody. And now SOFEX is going to begin. And if you didn't know that the military-industrial complex was a party, you'd be wrong.
So we're gonna go in with all the generals, see what everybody's buying. It's like a parody. I kind of feel like Austin Powers is going to jump out at some point because it's like a million Dr. Evils getting their special laser weapon systems. It's like kids at a candy store. For your eyes only. I think that's the wrong Bond.
And it's not just arms you can buy at SOFEX. If you make a big enough purchase, they'll train you on just how to use them too. To this end, they've created a state-of-the-art military training facility where you can learn how to raid an airplane or assault a gas station or not freak out while all around you bodies are burning. And all of this is brought to you courtesy of General Dynamics.
This was a coordinated effort between the U.S. and Jordan. It's about a $200 million facility as it stands right now, all constructed in the effort to basically have a one-stop shop for special operations type training. You can come and you can work on your urban skills, you can work on your aircraft assault skills, and just the whole gamut.
And who trains on it mostly?
Well, a number of countries. I won't say exactly which ones. What we have here is the Airbus 300. What it allows us to do is various types of training as it relates to special operations, whether it's a hostage situation inside of an aircraft or we want to replicate some sky marshal training. As in the aircraft here, we can simulate certain battlefield effects. We can initiate smells and sounds of the battlefield that may go along with a certain kind of scenario. What we can do is we can pull out the mannequins and actually put...
Don't shoot the baby.
That's right. The mindset's a big factor for each operator, and the more you can expose them to in a controlled environment like this, the better operator he's going to be, the more surgical he's going to be.
Right. I understand why, because the baby sound just freaked me out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the 100-meter range, and the 100-meter range has a system built by Saab. It's basically a pop-up target system.
Saab, the car manufacturer?
I believe it's the same guy, Saab Systems.
Right. I never see any press on this stuff ever. This is why I think I'm sort of a maverick. Although not a maverick like John McCain.
It's such a good story. I mean,
Right.
you know, anything that we can do to help, you know, the soldiers that we put out there. And just think of it, a site like this tries to replicate any type of situation that they're in.
Now, Jennifer does PR for these General Dynamics war villages, which must be the weirdest job for a soccer mom ever created.
So they bring people from Sofex here. Why?
Oh, to see it. Gotta see it to believe it.
So they like it.
Yep.
They see the plane.
Yep.
They get afraid by the baby. And then they come to you and say, I want it. Now what? What's next?
Great, we go and we, you know, talk to them and say they either want it in their country
Yeah.
or they can come here and train.
Right.
We're going in. Live hostage situation. He got them all before I even got in.
I wonder what the Jordanians think about these guys being the bad guys.
We're approaching the urban area. The urban area consists of about 52 structures.
Jordanians think about these guys being the bad guys.
We're approaching the urban area. The urban area consists of about 52 structures. The structures range from banks to small, large villas. We have an embassy complex over on the right, gas station, and just all kinds of other structures. There's a machine gun, simulated machine gun in that window. We have wave cannons on all the rooftops.
Are wave cannons real things?
They're...
Oh, shit. Is that a wave cannon?
That's a wave cannon.
They're after us.
I've been told that in the building they've initiated some kind of an odor, as well as probably some smoke and so on.
I smell something, I don't know what it is. Oh. This is like the worst thing I could possibly think of right now, being hungover, and they're gonna make it smell like rotting flesh.
Burnt hair, oily machinery, dead body.
we have an apple pie, but we don't have it on premises.
Is there ever a worry that sort of baddies would come and use the area as training? You know, you have Israel, Lebanon, Egypt, Syria, all as neighbors, and you know, you just wonder, you know, who gets to come train, you know?
Well, I mean, Jordan's in a tough neighborhood. There's no doubt about it.
Jordan is in a tough neighborhood. In fact, both Egypt and Syria are currently trying to put down popular rebellions, and Iraq is basically in a full-on special ops civil war. And where are they getting all these weapons? Sofex.
How hard is it to come and buy arms on the open market?
For a state, it's easy.
Easy.
For terrorist organization or criminal organization, it's more difficult. But for example, in America, the main supplier of drugs cartel in Mexico are the free market in America.
Sure.
So,
and we noticed that they sell kits. For example, you can buy a regular helicopter, but you can buy a kit to upgrade it to add in a missile system or a Gatling gun system quite easily.
yes, of course. It's what we call now dual technology.
Mm-hmm.
For example, Iran bought this kind of plane
Right.
officially for commercial operation. But Russians say, we don't sell weapons to Iran, we
Right.
sell Antonov.
Right.
It's a commercial plane.
So I can buy a helicopter from one country, and I can buy a weapon system from another country, and then have an attack helicopter.
Yes. For example, this kind of helicopter, the North Korea have some of this kind.
So the North Korea's bought some of these.
Yes. So it's pretty scary.
Can I have a keychain? Thank you. Where are you guys from? Kazakhstan. Czech Republic? Is that made in Azerbaijan? Yeah. So Azerbaijan makes the biggest, longest rifle I've ever seen. Where are you guys from? Germany. Turkey is here, China's here, Jordan is here, the Russians are here, all selling weapon systems to whoever's
whoever wants to buy them. You want jets, you want rockets, helicopter grenades, Robocop killer systems. You have 20 seconds to comply. You got it. That's an automatic grenade launcher.
That's my favorite weapon in the entire Marine Corps arsenal.
No one's stopping him. No one's saying, hey, you shouldn't be actually playing with the grenade launcher.
Now, fucking around with these dudes and their guns was fun, but after a while you start to freak out because you realize that they're selling weapons the same way that you'd sell next year's car model.
The world's most demanding shooters demand SIG. This is the world's most revolutionary pistol. We have the resources and the energy to solve any small arms problem.
Javelin would be one of the most innovative weapon systems.
I'll tell you, it is a hugely successful in Iraq and Afghanistan, not just in the United States forces, but internationally.
Now, when he says successful, what he really means is that it's great at destroying stuff. And we weren't the only ones to notice. Like the Marine we ran into, who had just finished his second tour in Iraq.
Yeah, it's weird, man. It's like everybody's like real cordial with each other, but like at the end of the day, we're like buying weapons to destroy each other.
That's it.
I don't want to sound too like liberal or anything.
No.
It's really not glamorous.
Yeah,
This shit fucking kills people.
Exactly.
It's like they don't discriminate. They'll sell to anybody who has fucking money.
And the biggest sellers by far are the American companies. In fact, 16 of the 20 largest arms manufacturers are based in the United States. And being the biggest store in the mall means selling a lot of weapons to a lot of people.
What's crazy about this is that America gives a lot of these countries foreign aid so that they can come here and buy weapon systems from their companies. It's kind of like a parent giving their kids a credit card and saying, go to the mall that I own and just buy whatever you want. So the last time you were in the Middle East, you were in Iraq as a Marine. Does it spin you out to see like Northrop Grumman, General Dynamics, you know, like all these American companies making tons of money off of war?
You know, what's the trip is you see Norenko right here,
right
next to an American arms display, and they used to launch 9-foot Norenko rockets on us.
Really?
Yeah.
The insurgents would buy Norenko rockets and then use them against you, and they're right next to the American military companies. Interesting.
So we went over to the Norenko booth to see if they could explain how their weapons ended up in the hands of Iraqi insurgents.
Hi. Ni hao.
Hey, ni hao.
Hi, how are you?
Yes, where are you from?
From America, Vice. VBS, news.
Oh, news.
News.
I'm sorry, maybe I'm not
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Ni hao. I must have bad BO. They're all walking away very rapidly. Ni hao. Everyone just left.
While we couldn't get an answer from the Chinese, sitting right there on display in the next booth over were shells that were exactly the same as the ones Iraqi insurgents used to make roadside bombs or IEDs.
They take the tips off of these, and you can see it's pretty hollow in there, and they'll pack this whole thing full of C4, and just it creates some hellacious shrapnel.
And here you can just buy it like you would a chocolate bar.
Exactly.
We're just outside of Amman, Jordan at the King Abdullah Special Operations Training Center for the Ultimate Warrior competition. There's some Marines here, there's some Tanzanians here, there's some people from Saudi Arabia, and they're the hometown heroes, the Jordanians. They're part of the special branches. It's basically bragging rights for who's the biggest badasses in the world. And so these are the best of the best counter-terrorist special ops groups.
Yes.
And so if they win, they're like, we're the biggest badasses, basically.
I guess it does give you a little bit of bragging rights.
Oh, that's good.
So as you can see, it's designed to kind of hit on as many of the skill sets that these guys possess and challenge them in all of those. Stamina, endurance, shooting skills.
Do they do Indian leg wrestling?
Indian leg wrestling? No, maybe.
Because I could compete on that.
What about potato sack racing?
I could compete on those too.
Now I have to admit, watching these special ops guys strut their stuff was pretty impressive. But when you start thinking about the countries that some of these guys come from, you can't help but wonder the circumstances in which these urban assault skills are going to be put to use. And if the recent uprisings in the Arab world are any indication, the answer is simple: at home.
How you guys doing? Good? You gonna win? Yeah? How are you boys doing? Are you gonna win?
If they don't win, then I'll put my boot in their ass. I'm happy.
And what do you think about competitions like this?
Friendly competition is always a great thing. It lets you know what you need to work on, and you should get out, meet new people, because connections around the world right now is a big deal. So getting to know guys you might see down the road in Afghanistan and recognize faces definitely goes a long way.
And recognizing faces is important. In fact, facial recognition technology is just the latest feature being built into many unarmed aerial vehicles, which are also known as drones.
You know, when you were a kid, you used to have those little model airplanes, and it'd be like, you know, somebody's dad would be a real nerd and have the model airplane. Now, like, it's all model airplane style drones that can take pictures or drop bombs.
The sad thing is that countries who actually buy this stuff rarely end up using it against foreign militaries. More often than not, they're turning it against their own citizens. And thanks to the number of governments who are afraid of their own people, business is booming.
We've just made an assessment of the global security market spending.
Right.
And our assessment this year is we think spending on security is between $180 and $190 billion. We now see that doubling to $400 billion over the next 4 years.
$400 billion just on
everything from border security, homeland security, anti-immigration, anti-drug, protection of oil fields and everything else.
So even in a recession.
Yep. So you can see 2 to 3 times more on security spending than there's going to be on defense export spending.
Wow.
Hence the importance of SOFIX.
So we just left SOFIX. We're pretty spun out. A lot of generals, a lot of weapon systems, missiles, tanks, planes, helicopters, and it's kind of a bummer.
And as we left SOFIX, the magnitude of what we just saw hit us. If the arms markets are doubling every year in sales, it means that the armies are actually using and expending their weapons, which means, quite simply, that they're killing people.
Come on, fire!
Hey, Roger. Keep shooting, keep shooting.
Hi, I'm Eddie Moretti. Today I'm with Ben Anderson, who's an independent filmmaker.
This week on Vice, we go to North Korea.
Going. But we'll be there uncovering the news, culture, and politics that expose the absurdity of the modern condition.
Super about to play a quick pickup game. Super casual, pretty relaxed.
This is the world through our eyes. This is the world of Vice. We here at Vice have been fascinated by North Korea for a long time. In fact, we've done 3 documentaries about the Hermit Kingdom, all of which have been harshly critical of the regime. You have to go to the house of the people, the library of the people. You have to see the soccer team of the people. But the one thing that we didn't do was meet any of the actual people of North Korea.
It's not very busy here. For that reason, I'm personally never allowed to go back to the DPRK. But we wanted to get inside the country again to see firsthand how it's faring under its new, very young, and very mysterious leader, Kim Jong-un. One of the biggest challenges in dealing with North Korea on any level is that we have virtually no diplomatic relations with them. In fact, over the past 65 plus years, only a handful of Americans have ever met the country's leaders. The most prominent of which was Secretary of State Madeleine Albright during a visit to the country when she brought Kim Jong-il a basketball signed by Michael Jordan. Now, she did this because, despite his public disdain for America, Kim Jong-il privately loved the Chicago Bulls. His passion for the 90s-era Bulls was passed on to his son, Kim Jong-un, and banking on the dynasty's inherent love for basketball, we worked through official and back channels to propose a goodwill game of basketball with North Korea's national team. If they accepted, we would bring 3 members of the Harlem Globetrotters, who are the most natural ambassadors of goodwill in the game, and a real live Chicago Bull. Much to our surprise, it worked. The DPRK actually invited our delegates to come to North Korea and participate in a very, very rare, quote-unquote, foreign sports exchange program. The timing, however, turned out to be very tricky, because in December of 2012, North Korea launched the Kwangmyeong-sung 3 satellite into the Earth's orbit, stirring fears that the country's missile program could soon be advanced enough to carry a nuclear weapon as far as the United States. And just so we didn't forget exactly what these missiles would be carrying, they conducted a 3rd nuclear test to make sure we got the message. This, of course, set the international community on edge. So, in the midst of heightened tensions and heated rhetoric, we headed to Pyongyang to see if we could actually engage with the North Koreans through the cultural vehicle of basketball.
The second you land in North Korea, you realize you're no longer in control of anything.
Motorcade is waiting, so we have to...
The motor is waiting? Government minders direct your every step. You're told where to go, what to do, and most importantly, what to film. And as other Westerners have found out the hard way, if you flaunt these restrictions, you could wind up in North Korean jail, one of the worst places on earth. Since our instincts are usually to shoot the exact opposite of what people want us to, I was more than a bit freaked out. Having the Harlem Globetrotters along with us on this trip was extremely comforting, because they were some of the most positive guys we'd ever met. Hey, buddy! And I needed that comfort pretty much right away, because as soon as we entered the hotel lobby, we were welcomed by a banner celebrating the recent nuclear test. At first, we thought the banner might have been put there for us, but when I opened up the curtains for my first look at Pyongyang, I saw a long line of buses leaving the hotel. And then, I turned on the TV.
시청자 여러분, 여기는 수도 평양의 창전거리입니다. 오늘 평양에 도착한 제3차 지하핵 시험 성공에 공헌한 정녕 이 경이적인 성과는 위대한 대원 스님들과 우리 당의 현명한 용도가 나온 빛나는 결실이며 이번에 제3차 지하핵 시험 성공은 백산 대국의 이력을 힘있게 가지한 주 이윤자들을 볼 때 막 달려나가서 올싸안고 춤을 추고 싶은 생각입니다.
A bunch of the nuclear scientists from the February 12th test are staying at this hotel right now. They were brought here by way of kind of reward or some sort of celebration by the leader. So they're staying here at the same hotel with us, unsettling.
So we weren't even there for a few hours, and this international nuclear controversy, with huge geopolitical ramifications, was playing out in our hotel lobby.
He just always has to hold that out for practice.
From the start, we were under very close supervision. They were watching us and what we were shooting at all times.
Every day has a schedule, and we have a lot of minders whose full-time jobs it is to make sure that make sure that we stay on the schedule. So, army of people there waiting for you to usher you onto the bus.
We were always surrounded by guides, translators, and officials, many of whom we'd been warned were actually secret police. We'd agreed that along with the exhibition game, we'd host a basketball camp with what we thought would be a bunch of kids in a high school gym somewhere. Instead, we were ushered into a massive 10,000-seat stadium.
Oh, this is nice.
We'd also be working with the best under-18 players in the country.
My name is Anthony Blakes, also known as Buckets. I'm number 15 with the world-famous Harlem Globetrotters. We're going to show you guys some great things today, and hopefully give you an opportunity to learn something new, as well as make some new friends with us. On my whistle, first guy goes. Go,
Hands up, good. Go. So they have to compete for the rebound. All right, ready? Go. There you go. This is what rebound is all about. You have to fight for it. Go. Oh.
Friendship on 3.
Do you know the language? Tingu.
Tingle. 1, 2, 3. Good job.
As we were leaving, we spotted North Korea's most famous basketball player, Ri Myung-hun, who had come out to watch the drills. Ri was at one time the tallest man in basketball. He was super excited about our visit, and he gathered us together for a chat.
Just me and him.
In a country that's known to suffer from malnutrition and the stunted growth that goes along with it, Ri is truly an exception. In fact, his height actually attracted the interest of American scouts, but due to trade sanctions, he was unable to pursue his dreams of playing in the NBA. And although loyal to North Korea, when he was once asked how he felt about not being able to play in the NBA, he replied, "I'm not interested in money or politics. As a sportsman, I just want to try."
이제부터 한번 처음에 문 열었으니까 이제부터 오면 그래서 우리 그래서 정말 열렬히 환영해서 다 해주니까.
As one of the trade-offs for allowing us to visit through this sports exchange, we agreed to go on their state-sanctioned tour. And like the beginning of any tour of North Korea, our first stop was an obligatory visit to the Sun Palace, where the country's last two leaders lie in state. North Korea is the last of the socialist/communist cult of personality utopian states. And much like Stalin in the Soviet Union or Mao in China, their leaders are not only revered as political figures, but flat out worshipped as gods. Kim Il-sung was installed by the Soviets as the first supreme leader in 1948. And in fact, he's still president of the DPRK today, even though he's been dead since 1994.
어머니 수령님을 존중이 않지한 연구차가 서서히 영웅의 거리에 들어섭니다.
Kim Il-sung was succeeded by his son, Kim Jong-il, who inherited his father's godlike excellence. And he was perfect at everything. Not only was he the greatest at military strategy and city planning, but also at filmmaking, furniture design, and even animal husbandry. When Kim Jong-il died in 2011, leadership was passed to his son, Kim Jong-un, about whom the world knows very, very little. These state-sanctioned tours of North Korea tend to be exactly the same year in, year out. But because of our basketball mission and our documentary, they'd created a new, hand-tailored propaganda tour. They were going to show us how great the quality of life in North Korea really was. So instead of taking us to places like the most militarized border on Earth, the DMZ, they took us to the North Korean version of SeaWorld. Immediately, we knew we were stepping into something completely different. A huge crowd was already seated and waiting patiently for us to arrive.
Front row seats.
Even here, we were reminded of North Korea's nuclear prowess.
여러분 안녕하십니까? 백두산 대국의 무지막강한 국력을 만방에 걸치고 5천년 민족사의 특대 사변인 주체 조실령미송 광명성 3호 2호기의 발사와 이번에 또다시 제3차 지하액수의 성공으로
And interestingly, Kim Jong-un was not just credited as the mastermind behind all the missiles and bombs, he was also the choreographer of the Dolphin Show. Not only is Kim Jong-un great with dolphins, he's now personally responsible for inspecting, advising, and directing all aspects of North Korean life.
환영합니다. 경리하는 김정은 원수님이 직접적인 발기와 구상에 따라 일떠서는 현대적인 대중운동 센터이며
Marshall inspected this facility.
Right. Any machine we see with a red placard like that?
Yes.
Yes, wow, cool. Are there ever arguments over who gets to use the marshal's equipment?
They would prefer the machine that were actually inspected by Marshall.
Of course.
I don't even know what this is called, but I'm loving it.
What is the salt that is on your face? There is this thing that prevents your skin from getting older. That one makes your breast enlargement.
Did you say they did breast enlargement in here as well?
That one helps to enlarge breast and also it can treat breast cancers.
Oh, wow. Table tennis is the most popular sport in DPRK?
No, it's not the most popular sport.
What do you think is the most popular sport?
I think basketball.
Oh, basketball. Good. Well, we came on the right mission then.
At the end of the day, we were invited to indulge ourselves in a North Korean shopping spree. The mall was clearly a showpiece, designed to project an abundance of delicacies in a country that doesn't even have enough food to feed its people. The store was rammed with Western products and a very, very attentive sales staff.
Coca-Cola, Doritos, Ruffles, anything you want to get good and fat. I'm personally gonna go with Coke.
Like Coke?
I love Coke. Do you like Coke?
Yeah, me too. So it's one of my favorite.
Pay with a credit card?
No.
No?
It would have felt just like a store at home if it weren't for the fact that A, we were the only customers there, and B, I couldn't actually buy anything. As we drove back to the hotel, I noticed that in spite of the country's well-documented chronic power shortages, this city was extremely well lit. Which made me think, were even the lights part of the tour as well? That might sound crazy, but when you look at satellite photos of the region, North Korea is completely dark. The next morning, we were driven to the International Friendship Exhibition, and the only cars that we saw on the long 3-hour drive there were our own. The International Friendship Exhibition is basically this castle vault built into the side of a mountain that holds every gift ever given to the leadership of North Korea. They had gifts from the likes of Muammar Gaddafi, Leonid Brezhnev, the Sandinistas, and of course, Madeleine Albright, whose gift of a Michael Jordan-signed basketball was the inspiration for this trip. A trip, by the way, that was getting progressively weirder, as we saw at our next stops, the Kim Il-sung University and Grand People's Study House. After the prerequisite display of nuclear and missile technology, they gave us a tour demonstrating North Korea's openness to the outside world.
If you could learn to drive, you'd practice parking a car. Over and over. Yeah. This is the golden chance to have conversations with the natives.
How long have you been playing basketball?
Okay.
Well, I have been playing basketball since I was a small child.
I see.
I have been playing basketball for about 5 days now.
Bye. Goodbye. See you again.
Next, they took us to a computer lab where students were using the internet. And your first thought is, okay, this looks like any lab at a university back home. But then it dawns on you that it's completely silent. No one is doing anything. There was no typing, no mouse clicking, nothing. We saw one guy looking at the Google homepage, but he wasn't searching for anything. He was just staring blankly at the screen. The one person we saw there who actually looked like he knew how to use a computer was, of course, the one person they wanted us to meet.
자기소개 좀.
Hello. How you doing?
Here's a picture for the
Very nice to meet you as well. Sorry to disturb you while you're working.
Yes. Actually, I was looking through my papers, which are published in the journals.
Oh, wow.
This is about string theory. This is done in collaboration with some foreign scientists in Europe.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's great.
Considering North Korea's reputation for complete and total suppression of information, this stop was clearly designed to convince us that they had access to the internet, just like the rest of the world, which we knew wasn't true. And that left us wondering, was anything we were seeing real? It felt like we were walking through a real live Truman Show, created just for us. Everywhere we went and everything we saw was constructed to convey the exact opposite of what we know about North Korea.
풍년이든 농장벌로 가마마차 달린다 해오의 뒤를 따라 가마마차 달린다 마차에 살찐 고기 소금간 야채 중대 살림 잘
I honestly felt like I was losing my mind. But nothing could have prepared us for what was about to happen next.
So we're here just about to play a quick pickup game, super casual, really relaxed, with a few Harlem Globetrotters, and a bunch of North Koreans, and myself, as Dennis Rodman and Kim Jong-un watch.
The most white team captain.
You are white and you are red.
I take these?
He is captain and you will be behind him. And then you can, if he pick one player, then you can give one by one.
I hand out. I'm the equipment manager.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
We picked teams playground style, so each team had both Americans and North Koreans.
Let's do it. All right. Team on 3. 1, 2, 3.
I'm starting.
You about to get dunked on, player.
백진의 주장 45번 올인됐습니다. 멋있는 동작이었습니다. 홈팀에서 성공시켰습니다. 인드랍 성공됐습니다. 옆팀에서 멋있는 인드랍이었습니다.
After the halftime show, the Globetrotters went out and did what they do best.
다시 또 백중에서 공을 차지했습니다. 유수학 지는 경기 안돼 홈팀에서 윤우에 올라가서 들어오는 공을 발로 처리했습니다. 부화적인 행동으로서 사람들에게 아마 추억을 남기게 될 것입니다.
Then, in the fourth quarter, the game got really intense and actually started to get exciting. With no overtime allowed, the game actually ended in a tie.
Beautiful right there. Way to make it dramatic for our first visit here.
Before we even knew what was going on, Dennis was standing and giving a speech.
First of all, I would like to say thank you.
먼저 감사하다는 말을 하고 싶습니다.
You guys have been very, very kind to me and to my compadres from America. And the one thing I want to say, I'm going to cut this really short. I'm very, very privileged to be here. And for you guys to accept us as one of you is an honor. I'm sorry that my country and your country are not on good terms, but for me and the country, you have a friend for life. Sir, thank you. You have a friend for life.
저는 조선과 미국 사이의 관계가 좋지 못한 데 대해서 유감스럽게 생각합니다. 그러나 조선과 조선 인민은 저의 친구이며 저는 경애하는 원수님을 저의 친근한 보시라고 생각합니다. 감사합니다.
We were in a complete and total daze. The 2 hours of screaming and emotion, the tie game at the final buzzer, and of course, the surprise visit by Kim Jong-un. It was truly a surreal experience. All of a sudden, we were ushered off the court and into the locker room and told to change right away.
We have very important schedule, so we have to be very much hurry.
Okay,
Right now we go up.
We were bussed across the city, but no one knew where we were going. No one, not even our minders. We were told to leave our cameras behind and brought into this large marble building and escorted through a ton of security. And then we turned a corner to see Kim Jong-un.
이날 저녁 경애하는 김정은 원수님께서는 조선민주주의인민공화국 올림픽위원회에서 우리나라를 방문한 미국 NBA 이전 선수와 일행을 위해 마련한 만찬회에 초대되셨습니다.
There we were, face to face with Kim Jong-un for a dinner celebration. And with that, we were somehow the first Americans to meet North Korea's new leader. Having him on the sidelines for the game was one thing, but standing right beside him was completely and totally insane. It was like being in an alternate universe. So here's what happened. At first, introductory speeches were given, the theme of which was pretty much drink. Then the curtains went up, and out came this all-girl band dressed in white with electric violins, and they're inexplicably playing the theme from Rocky. And then things started to get really crazy. At one point, Dennis took the mic and sang My Way while our interpreter played the sax. Then they pointed at me, and it was my turn to toast. So I thanked Kim Jong-un for his hospitality and said that we'd like to return the favor if he ever wanted to come to America and have dinner with us, which, thankfully, got a big laugh. Clearly, the booze loosened everyone up. What we kept hearing from these ministers, party officials, and nuclear negotiators, and then even from Kim Jong-un himself, was that they hoped our visit would be able to reduce some of the psychological barriers between the US and North Korea. They even went on to claim that we'd made history. Now that's a pretty
very important schedule.